Hello, this is David Shreeve, Algebra 2 instructor with Florida Virtual School. We're going to be looking at just the period of a pendulum formula. This is from the radical activity in the Algebra 2 course. For most of you, it's probably lesson 4.10. Your lesson number may be different depending on the version of the course that you're in, but this is our formula here. We have time equals 2 times pi times the square root of the quotient of the string length and 32. So I'm going to do a couple examples here. I've got 24 inches and 30 inches are two of the string lengths that we're going to simplify here. Now the first couple things for pi, as you remember from the lesson, you're just going to use 3.14. Now, if you have a graphing calculator, it is possible to enter all of this in at once and just enter it horizontally and get your value, but it's going to be a little easier for you most likely to enter this in pieces. So for the pi value here out front, I'm just going to use 2 times pi. Well, for pi I'm using 3.14. So I'm going to use 2 times 3.14, which is 6.28. Alright, remember for string length, the length here is represented in feet. So you'll have to take, and for example, 24 inches, I'm going to divide that by 12. So 24 divided by 12, that equals 2. Alright, so I can write this out as t equals, remember 2 times pi is 6.28, and then I've got the radical here, and for string length I had to convert from inches to feet, so 24 inches is 2 feet. Alright, now you could enter this in the calculator, as I said, all at once, but it's going to be probably safer to enter it in pieces. So if you have a calculator such as a TI, this is a TI 84 Plus. But first thing that we want to do here is I want to convert this 2 over 32. By the way, it would reduce to 1 over 16, but we're going to go ahead and just turn that into a decimal value. So it's 0.0625. Now, if I'm going to enter it in the calculator in pieces, I can go ahead and just take my decimal value, 0.0625, take the square root of that. So depending on your calculator, you'll need to get the square root of that decimal value, 0.0625. And of course, in most cases, you're going to get a decimal, such as in this case 0.25. And then when we get our square root of that decimal value, then I'll just go ahead and multiply it by this 6.28. So times 6.28, 1.57. Okay. Now, as I said, we can enter this in all at once. It's more difficult, and it's hard to tell how reasonable your answer is. Of course, if you end up with something like 22 seconds, obviously that's incorrect, because it would never take a pendulum 22 seconds unless we're an extremely large pendulum. So if I want to enter this in all at once, I would just 6.28. I've already simplified 2 times pi to 6.28. And then I would want to open my parentheses here. In this particular calculator, I put the second key and then square root, which is down here. All right. And then I want the square root of 2 divided by 32. So I can put 2 divided by 32. Notice I'm going to close the parentheses twice and hit enter. And you'll notice we still get that same value, 1.57. It might be difficult to see here. All right. Now, if we use the actual pi value instead of the 3.14, we'll come up with a much more accurate answer, but it's probably going to be much more than 2 decimal places. It'll be quite a few. But same thing we can do here for this next value, 30 inches. I plug it in the same way. 30 inches, I have to do the 30 divided by 12 first. Okay, so 30 divided by 12, I'm just typing it into my calculator, I get 2.5. So let's plug that into the formula over here, and I'm using a slightly different color so it'll help you see the difference between the ones I'm working on here. So 2 pi is 6.28, and then remember for string length in this case I'm using 2.5. 30 inches is 2.5 feet. Alright, and again, if I'm going to enter it in pieces, I can simply take the 2.5 and divide that by 32. And then this is my decimal value. And then I want to take the square root of that entire decimal value. So 0.078125, close parentheses. Alright. Let's actually divide that by the 30. Oh, no, that's already divided by the 32. Okay, so close parenthesis, enter, and then just going to multiply that by 6.28. So in this case, and for the purposes of the assignment, I would just round it probably to the nearest thousandth. So 1.755 is what I would list as my answer for that. That's to enter it in pieces. As I said, if we wanted to get a little more detailed, I can do 2 times pi, okay, times, let me put an open parenthesis there, times the square root of 2.5 divided by 32, close parenthesis. This is going to give us a more accurate answer, actually. Okay, still going to be very close to the answer we had before, but I just wanted to have a little example of that because I've had quite a few questions on it. But that's the way we'd enter those string lengths into the period of a pendulum formula. Hope this helps.